This is the bonus section podcast, episode number 45. What you focus on expands. Are you the type of person that knows you were meant for something greater in this lifetime and that somewhere inside of you there's just this bigger version of yourself trying to break through? But in spite of all your self-development attempts, you just can't seem to find the way up and out? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the bonus section and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. So to help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, we take all the notes from each episode and we post them for a short period of time over at freethinkingtools.com. All right, let's get started. What you focus on expands, said Oprah Winfrey once a long time ago. I remember it, and it just came up in another theme in an audiobook I'm listening to, and I thought I needed to speak about this again. So the first point is this. When it comes to your attention span, you only have so much. Right? It's like a limited resource. Think about that. A day comes, and depending on the type of energy you wake up with, sometimes you have energy, sometimes you don't have energy, but you just wake up with some sort of a capacity. Think about it like the EV, the electric vehicle, that there's only so much battery that we have each day before the body has to shut down and recharge. And a lot of that has to do with, are you getting exercise, you're getting sleep, are you eating right? There's so many variables, but you get it. There's only so much attention span that we have. So if we are in trouble in life and we're trying to make ends meet, all we can focus on is going to work, making enough money, getting down to the grocery store, putting the food on the table, making sure it's warm enough to go to sleep and do it all over again, right? So that's the very core basic need, a Maslow moment. Gotta take care of those biological and physical needs first. So we have to focus on that. But if we can get beyond that point in life, there are so many other things that once we have that basic sustenance that we can focus on. And that starts to get into this, more of this part of our brain that wants to thrive. It wants to do these interesting things, and it wants to be out there competing to evolve, survival of the fittest kind of moment, right? And so we start to focus on things. And when we're goal-oriented, it feels good. There's a lot of positive stuff going on. So, for example, if I have a very clear goal of what I wanted to become, and I set it out there and I write it down even better, and I put it in my room and I fall asleep and there it is on the ceiling, or it's in the drawer, it's my bookmark from my book, whatever. I just keep repeating that over and over and over again. It feels good. And that triggers inside of us that subconscious resourcefulness where now all of a sudden we don't even know how we're going to do it, but the subconscious is now editing out everything else. And it's really a positive moment. I talk about that a lot here. However, the next point is this. When you focus on something that is the base of your emotion, or it's an emotion, right? So your emotional focus fills you up and exhausts your capacity very quickly. So think about what I'm saying. If I'm in a very logical moment about what I want, so let's just say I decide I'm going to become the next greatest doctor, and I understand non-emotionally, logically, that there's a certain amount of time that it takes to go take the required classes, then go to medical school, do my residency. And again, I'm kind of guessing here because it's not something I want to do, but it's something I have talked to one of my kids about, that there's a very clear timeline. So you be logical about it. And you have to understand that there's a real calling there. And there isn't anything, but that's a very specific calling. And so there are some very specific logical moments that you can think about and be non-emotional about it. You don't have to be emotional about it. But what if it's during a political season or something else that charges our emotions? And so you have this very logical moment about the thing that you're trying to do. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're online and you're caught up in politics, or you just caught up in the latest app. And you're caught up now in how everybody looks on that app. And all of a sudden, now all of these other subjects that were not really logically driven or provoking us to begin with, we're provoked emotionally. See the starting point? See, it's different. Sometimes it's just matter of fact, logical, interesting to us. And other times something triggers us emotionally. Now, you might get emotional about a big goal, about who you'll become, because you're trying to overcome something, but emotions will fill you up very quickly. And they can make you confused too. And you can lose your logic to that emotional starting point, and you get filled up and you're exhausted. I could never become a doctor. I mean, it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's all these years and all this money, and we just get all emotional. And next thing you know, time has flown by very quickly, and we're drained and probably even dejected. So I think that's fascinating. I think it's fascinating because I am much more naturally an emotional driver than I am a logical one. However, over time, I have understood what I'm sharing with you here, that if I get too emotionally involved in a decision or a goal or a direction, then I'm going to get filled up very quickly. And I'm probably going to look just at the corroborating evidence, meaning only the stuff that supports my emotional decision. Because I've just pushed that logical brain to the side and say, it doesn't matter. We can do this, right? And we get all excited and off we go. You see a lot of entrepreneurs like that. And that's why a lot of small businesses fail, is because they get so excited and emotional and all they focus on is what will go right. And they never do any sort of a business plan. They never do any kind of calculation. They never take their time to plan anything out. And the next thing you know, you wonder why they're running in circles and they're exhausted and they've blown everything up. It's because what they focused on was all the emotionally driven stuff that they needed to achieve the goal and overshadowed the logical stuff, right? So let's go to the next point here. So how do you get out of that back and forth between logical and emotional? And I think there's room for both. I do. But I see a lot of people, and when I'm recording this, remember we're in the tail end, hopefully, of the real rise of this pandemic that's made everybody isolated. It's driven everybody online deeper. And it's had us focus on things that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise because we're in a different situation. So what I would recommend is that you question what you're focusing on. Because 12 months ago, it might have been something very different. Might have been very clear. You might have been in a system. You might have been in a rhythm. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad where you find yourself. I'm just saying, what if you start to focus on something else? Why is that thing that you're focused on most important to you right now? And what do you expect to get out of that focus? So go there for a second. I have a couple of things in my mind as I'm saying this. So I'll expose one of them, which is the obvious with kids. And not just kids, adults. We are going to the internet more and more and more. And, your phone can give you your screen time and it can tell you how much time you were really on. It can even break down now, were you on social all this time? What were you doing? And I'm not knocking social and I'm not knocking the internet for sure. I love that little white box. Man, my ability to go find things that I want to learn about, that little white box that I search into, I love it. I wish I had it long ago. However, I see that also the minute that I open up my phone, I am subjected to a fight for my focus. It is an all-out assault. The minute you turn this little bad boy over and you turn it on, the next thing you know, there's an assault on you to try to grab your attention and then your focus. Because as you get in there, you're really focusing on something that maybe you didn't expect to, but it triggered something in you. And so now that you've been triggered, were you triggered logically? Were you inspired in a very logical way to say, hey, wow, there are people doing what I thought I could do. Let me go down that rabbit hole a little bit more. Let me listen to them talk about how they got there. And I can tell you, Jack, my son, he was intrigued by going to Harvard. And so he's online all the time listening to YouTube videos about how kids got in and what their background looked like. And it's a very specific thing. But in the same breath, then I can hear him cackling, at 1 o'clock at night, spending 2-3 extra hours down a rabbit hole. And I get it. Entertainment is fabulous. It's wonderful. It's funny, but you're focusing on it. And now you're losing time and you're emotionally caught up. And these negative things are coming from that. There's no doubt. No sleep the night before school, no proper school. Then now you can't focus on your studying, which is going to get you into that kind of a school. You see what I mean? That's an example. People in my office, at work, my coaching members, I can tell you right away when you can hear almost their ADD. You can hear it. I can see it every week when I coach them online. I can see who's on there on a regular basis. I can tell, especially with Zoom these days, who's zoomed out, who's zoomed in. So we have this assault on our attention, and a lot of it has to do with just procrastination. But you know what's weird is that we think we're entertaining ourselves, and we quip that, well, we deserve it, and you know what's wrong with that? Well, there's a lot wrong with it if it's taking you away from focusing on what's most important to you. So you see what I'm saying? I'm saying question what you're focusing on, and why is that now most important to you? Why is that most important to you? And by focusing on it, what do you expect to get out of it? Because it's in lieu of something else. Remember, what you focus on is about time management. It is the decision what you're doing with your life. You're managing your time. You're deciding to focus on something with this limited resource called time. And so you have these masters where you said, I have all these dreams of being this thing or doing that. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's not for me. Well, what do you mean it's not for you? You spent all this time focusing on something else. You got sucked down the proverbial rabbit hole, and you didn't spend any time on this thing. So you made something else more important than your big goal, your important goal, the one that if you don't achieve, you will feel very unfulfilled in your life. That's a big stakes, right? That's what's at stake. The most important thing to your life just got steamrolled by all this other stuff. And so here's the bonus section of the bonus section podcast. Ask yourself, who or what provoked you to focus on that and why? So there are a lot of companies out there that are vying for your attention. So there's a who, and the what could be certain subjects, and then certain content creators, what they've created and who they are. It's all intertwined, and they're provoking you every day. They're using triggers. They're using beautiful video. They're using whatever they're using, right? TV is a huge medium. Who and what are they talking about? Are they trying to get you to buy this stock or do that thing? What are they doing? Because now all of a sudden you're hooked. Something triggered in you that you're interested. Off you go. And you begin to focus on that. And before you know it, and you probably don't even know it because you won't account for it because you'll deny it. You just procrastinated an entire day. And now at night, you're up too late and you're looking at this. I know this is kind of going down a negative hole, but I'm trying to wake you up. You have the choice to focus. But people are vying for that at accelerated rates like never before. When I was a kid, there was none of this. I mean, we went outside and played because we were freaking out bored, in the solitary confinement of our own room. So we would play until the lights went out, I was going to say, but they don't go out. Where I grew up, street lights were on and we would stay out there until we got yelled at to come in. So it was much more physical and we were out there doing what we did. Not that we couldn't get into trouble there too. So that was the same thing back then. What you focused on, who you hung around with and what they provoked you to do. See, it hasn't changed. It's just gone online. That's all. So you really need to be questioning, how did I originally get interested in this thing that I am giving so much, especially emotional focus to? Logical would be wonderful. I mean, if you start to look around at some really good, solid people that provoked you to think about something deeply spiritual or something very interesting from a business perspective or creative, whatever, there are wonderful who's and what's to focus on that you could be provoked into. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're sitting here listening and you're saying, nope, I got you. Well, I'm just saying, be careful. Have some entertainment, but just make sure that entertainment doesn't come with an agenda that pulls you right off that beautiful thing you're on. And for those of you that are in the rabbit hole, come on, put the shovel down. Stop digging the hole. It's pretty simple. And start focusing a little bit at a time. And I know it becomes an addiction. Those people that have provoked you, they know. They got you. They got you addicted. And they have their little algorithms and their little games and they watch your behaviors. And artificial intelligence knows how to manipulate you, probably someday even better than a human who's really good at conning you. Probably. So maybe we're just going from the human who's conning you, who's now relying on the algorithm that's conning you, into your attention. And it's not always benevolent. And most of the time, it has nothing to do with the benevolence and the fulfillment of your goals. It has everything to do with the fulfillment of their goals at your expense. Got it? Got it. Okay, let's go back and talk about this. I'll summarize it. Thank you, Oprah. What you focus on expands. Never forget her saying it. It was long ago too, but the theme just keeps coming back up. The first point, you only have so much of an attention span each day. It's limited. Your emotional focus fills you up and exhausts that capacity very quickly. So be careful when you get provoked by your emotions about what they're having you focus on. And the third point would be simply to question what you're focusing on all the time. Why that's important to you. And by focusing on it, what do you expect to get out of it? And lastly, the bonus section to the bonus section podcast is ask yourself a simple question. Who or what or a combination of the two provoked you to focus that way and why? What was their agenda and has it stolen yours? All right, I'll say it this way in a quick summary statement. What you focus on expands in your mind, just like a sponge. And if it's driven by your emotions, you'll find yourself quickly consumed by that subject and often short on time and exhausted. The key is to question why you are focused on a particular subject and what you expect to get out of the pursuit. However, most importantly of all of this, what or who provoked you into that direction and what was their motivation to do so? All right, remember now, you can take immediate action to get moving in a better direction because we take the notes from these episodes and we post them for a short period of time at freethinkingtools.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen, or find us on any of our social media channels for the bonus section, and you won't miss out on the episodes. We'd also appreciate it if you would join our mission of becoming people for others and share this content with other people just like you so that they get the help that they need if you think this stuff would benefit them. Now remember, I sign off the same way every time. You ready? Here it comes. Nobody is coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on yourself and a better plan for your life, and we will see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.